Hey, Mama, and welcome to the very first episode of Baddie Mommy, the podcast for moms who are out there raising babies, raising themselves, and maybe raising their partners too. I'm Christina, and I'm so glad you're here today because today's episode is something that I really needed to hear when I first became a mom. The title of this podcast is called You're Still That Girl because no matter how many diapers you've changed, no matter how tired you are, no matter how messy your life feels, you are still her. When I first became a mom, and still now, right, at different points after becoming a mother, I would sometimes see old photos of myself, right? So if you have an iPhone, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes your iPhone shows you memories of 5, 10, 15 years ago. And I love this part of an iPhone. Like I love to look back on memories. But I also, after having children, have this moment where I look back at those photos of myself and I see this girl who was adventurous, who was spontaneous, who would travel anywhere, who loved to face her fears and take on challenges head on, right? Who hated routine. And I would romanticize that version of myself. And I had felt that in this current version of myself who could now only thrive off routine, right? If you're a mom, you know what I'm talking about. Like, we are not even a big routine family. Like, we are traveling all the time just because I grew up in a different country than my husband. So we're constantly breaking up our routine. But every time we get to a new place, I'm like, we need to get back into a routine. None of us are going to sleep. None of us are going to be happy without routine. And I have this moment when I become that mom where I'm like, we need routine. We need a sleep schedule. We need to make sure the kids are on to bed on time. And I'm like, when did I become so boring? Not only that, I would look at those old photos and I would do the most toxic thing that any mom could ever do, which is compare my new body after having two babies within 2 years to my old body. I am not someone who has bounced back from having children. I'm not someone who put on just like a couple pounds. Like I am 30 to 40 pounds heavier after having children. I used to be able to take care of myself. And now my time wasn't mine. And I'm like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love my kid. Like, for me, motherhood is the best part of my life. This is my most favorite phase of life so far. But simultaneously, I'm like missing this past version of myself who I was before having kids as well. And so you can have both of those things at once. And that's something really hard to explain to people who don't have children because even for myself before having kids, I would have thought like someone who misses their past self, this means that they don't like being a mom and they don't like having children. I'm like, that's not true at all. So I feel like if you're a mom, you understand this. If you don't have kids, it's really a hard concept to grasp, but also, yeah, I miss the freedom. I miss the flexibility of life before kids as well. So somewhere along the way, I started to feel like I had sacrificed my whole self, my body, my time, my career. I'm not working full time right now. And so I felt like I was really career motivated before having children. And now I'm like, no, I want to spend time with my children. So if I have given up or have this feeling that I've sacrificed my body, my time, my career, I have none of that left. Who am I? Who am I after having children? And if you have ever felt this way, I just want to let you know that you are not alone. I had this moment. I had just gotten off a 12-hour flight with my husband and my two kids. And my two kids at this time were age 2 and age 1. And I was exhausted. We have traveled with our children. I've traveled with 1 to 2 babies for the past 2 years very often. And I keep thinking that flying is going to get easier. In many ways, I feel like I am an expert on flying with children, and it's not getting any easier. I still get to the location wherever we're going and just feeling a mess, feeling sweaty, feeling like just not put together at all. And so we had gotten off a 12-hour flight with our two kids. I used to be able to travel with just a backpack. I traveled in Asia for 3 months with just a 50-pound, I think 50, 30-pound, I don't know, 30-gallon. I forget what they're called now. Anyways, it was this tiny like Patagonia backpack that I just had a few clothes in. And now here I am traveling. We travel with 4 suitcases. We travel with 2 car seats because I am like obsessed with safety. So I'm like, we can't rent a car somewhere. And then we've had horrible situations where like the car rentals don't have car seats. So I'm like, we need to travel with our own car seats every time. And so we're lugging around these car seats. We travel with 2 strollers. Like we are traveling so heavy and it is exhausting. We got off this 12-hour flight and I was a mess. We had to rent a car and then drive 3 hours back to my parents' house. So I told my husband, I'm like, you stay here with the kids and I will go take the shuttle myself, pick up the car, and then I'll drive and I'll pick you guys up. That way we're not lugging everything around. I went by myself on the shuttle and it was like a breath of fresh air to get on the shuttle and be by myself for the first time. Oh, this feels so nice to be alone. So I'm on the shuttle. I put my headphones in. I put on some music and I am just enjoying this time of going to pick up this car by myself. When I'm traveling, my senses are fully activated. I am full on mom beast mode when I'm traveling with my kids. I'm stressed. I'm thinking about the future the whole time and thinking about things that we need to be prepared for. Finally got to the rental car place and I picked up the car. I took just a few moments. I was like, let me turn on my Bad Bee playlist and I'm just going to enjoy this. It's less than a 5-minute drive to go pick them up. So I turned on my jams. I had the windows down and my mood was immediately lifted. And I felt in that moment, I was like, I just reconnected with that girl, the girl who was independent, who was spontaneous. Like she was still there. And that gave me so much confidence and gave me a sense of peace with motherhood. You need to find those times throughout your day, throughout your life to reconnect with her. And I just had this thought, it's only 5 minutes. I'm happy to be back with my family. But I knew in that moment, I need to reconnect with her more often. But I didn't know how to. I didn't even really know what that meant. Going through this process of how do I get back to being my baddie self? It's a worthwhile thought process. You're not, and you were never merely defined by your achievements, by your career, by your body. What makes you is so much deeper than that. And people can go their whole lives continuously building their career, continuously being defined by external achievements and never really acknowledging what actually makes them powerful as a human being until much later in their life. And I feel like definitely in motherhood, especially early motherhood, it feels like you're just in straight survival mode. And you spend months of sleepless nights and crazy hormones and newfound anxiety that you feel like you've drifted so far from your previous self that it's impossible to get back. And I feel like it almost feels like you have this midlife crisis where you're like, who am I? Motherhood, in many ways, feels like that sort of identity crisis shift that we see portrayed for middle-aged men. I'm like, women go through that. It's just much earlier. I used to have this conversation with my husband all the time where I'm like, listen, I feel like I've sacrificed everything. Like my whole life has changed. You're still out here going to work. You have this time where you are still connecting with that person who you knew before having children. You're spending 8 hours plus a day being that person. And I haven't reconnected with my version of that person in months, right? We are having a totally different experience of being parents, and that's okay. Hopefully, in another podcast, we can talk about marriage after having kids and communicating. And it's okay that we have these different experiences. We have totally different roles for our children right now. That's okay, but I just need you to acknowledge that this is so hard for me. People often give the advice to make time for self care, which is good, but it's also like a bit vague. Like, I feel it's difficult when you have small children and maybe lack support or you're trying to balance a career. I feel like the question here is more like, how can I reconnect with that girl? Whatever being that girl meant for you feels for you. It's like, how can I reconnect with her? And how can I bring that girl energy, that vibe, that aura? How can I bring that into my life on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, right? How can I channel that more often and use that energy to radiate confidence, radiate my inner power? Now, I want to just chime in here and say that The goal, in my opinion, is not to get back to your previous self, right? So you have evolved in motherhood. So if this is where you were before and you're drifting and it feels like you're drifting away, it's because you're evolving, right? Look at it as you're evolving. So the goal isn't to get back to where you are, right? The goal is to channel that same energy that makes you get to that evolved version of you where you are channeling that energy on an even higher frequency. Motherhood is the next evolution of you. You are capable of being just as motivated, just as driven, just as fit, just as sexy as you were before, if not more. Stop trying to get back to your previous self. Like, channel that energy of your previous self. Be that girl. Have that girl energy again, but decide to be even better than your previous self, whatever that means to you. Motherhood might feel like a time of sacrifice where you have to choose family life over your own dreams, but this is a limiting belief. And this is something that I had to remind myself. Acknowledge that for a second, that motherhood is absolutely a sacrifice, but don't live in that. Feeling like, oh my gosh, I've sacrificed so much, it feels like a dead end, right? That sentence just feels like there's no motivation behind it, right? It is a limiting belief. So change that mindset. Be like, how can I reconnect with that girl? Yes, my life has changed. Yes, it feels like a sacrifice in many different ways, but let's move past that and let's reconnect with that girl. Let's achieve dreams greater than I could have even imagined before having kids. Let me radiate my powerful, confident, Baddie energy while having my baby strapped to me, while having my toddler in hand. Let's remember that we can achieve amazing things after having children. Let's remember that we can have the baddiest energy after having children. So here's your reminder today. You are still that girl. You're the one with the big heart, with the big dreams, who used to light up rooms. You still can, right? You can still bring that energy into your life. You're not dramatic for being tired. Like, some of this stuff maybe doesn't resonate with you right now or feels so far away, because some mornings you wake up after having children. There are many mornings where you wake up and you're like, nah, I'm not that baddie girl today. Like I'm just trying to survive. If you're feeling that, there are days where that is absolutely true, but then there's going to be days where you are like, I want to channel that. I want to channel that baddie energy. So you are not selfish for wanting more. You're not selfish for wanting to reconnect with your unique life force energy. And you don't have to choose between being a present mom and being a powerful woman, right? You can have both of those things at the same time, however that looks for you in your life. Thank you all for kicking off this podcast journey with me. I love to talk to other moms and help uplift moms, help moms feel more confident, because we truly are amazing powerhouses. And I'm so honored to be in your ears today. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with another mama who might need that reminder that they are still that girl. Stay confident, stay powerful, and remember that you are still that girl. You always have been.